What's going on, everyone? Welcome to episode 100 of the Finale Podcast. Remember starting this podcast in April 2022. Just intrigued by podcasting in general. I was thinking about doing a podcast for a long time until then. I finally did it. And to think that, we're now 100 episodes in is just a pretty remarkable achievement. So now it's just about to get into the next 100 and then just maintaining consistency and improving the product. So I appreciate the listeners. I appreciate guys like my guests today, Cittilad and Tyler, who have been there throughout the 100 episodes. So, guys, want to start off by saying thank you, and then how are you doing today?
Doing good. Congrats. Congrats to everybody, especially you, come a long ways. Last 2 years, flew by, but yeah, excited where this
Appreciate it.
thing's going to go in the future.
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. It's yeah, definitely something to be proud of. Yeah. I remember first episode you had me on, was the most awkward thing trying to talk in front of this thing, and now it's just natural. We do it every other week. So very cool. Definitely something to be proud of. Excited to see where it goes.
Thank you, thank you. So, yeah, let's get into these topics today. Biggest takeaways from week 8 NFL regular season. I'll let you guys go first with that.
Yeah, for last week, my biggest takeaway is going to be my biggest surprise. I'd say Jameis Winston is starting, just starting QB and, proving the doubters, and especially against, a powerhouse like the Ravens and on how hot their streak has been going and how good Lamar's been playing for the last, few weeks or so. But yeah, just going out there and balling out and just, believing in that team and believing in himself that he can definitely do it against, that powerhouse team and that rival in that division as well. So yeah, that's kind of my biggest takeaway. Just that win for that team and that city, just build some confidence in that team going forward.
Yeah. What I'll say about that is, I mean, it just seems like for obvious reasons. I don't know. There's a lot of mixed emotions with the Deshaun Watson thing. I mean, in terms of like just cheering for your quarterback, like, yeah, your quarterback you want to cheer for and everything like that. But with the whole Deshaun Watson context and everything, it's just like there probably wasn't a lot of people rallying really, or like the whole city rallying behind his success when he was starting. And now like with Jameis Winston, I mean, it just like it's a new energy, and I think a lot of just fans are able to gravitate towards him because he's just such a unique personality. And when he has that success on the field, even though it is inconsistent at times, I mean, he did throw a ball that could have sealed the game if it was picked off by Cal Hamilton. But I think overall, just what he brings to the table gives them the best chance to win moving forward. And I'm feeling like that's the type of guy that the fans will be able to rally around to make the most out of this season. So for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna pivot from mine a little bit just because we're gonna kind of talk about them in one of the topics. It was gonna be the Colts,
Okay.
just this far into the season, but yeah, we'll talk about them in a little bit. So I did want to talk about that Commanders Bears game briefly. Um, Not a great game all the way through until that miraculous play at the end there. Um, I'd say that was definitely the biggest surprise if there is one for me. Um, and then there's also that clip I'm sure everybody's seen of the defender celebrating during the play, going over, tipping the ball, whatever. Everyone's gonna, say what they say about that. That's just, a fluke play. I wouldn't beat myself up over it too much. However, definitely gonna have some explaining to do in the film room with that celebrating mid play. But part of the growth process. Um,
Yeah.
and then I don't want to steal yours, Markos, but Vikings definitely were the biggest disappointment for me this week. Obviously, we had that missed face mask in the end zone, but you can't point at that as the only reason we lost that game. We had plenty of opportunities, and then it's just mistake after mistake. So got to clean things up moving forward.
Yeah. I think with the Bears game, I mean, obviously top two overall picks, quarterbacks going at it. Um, really just a defensive battle that whole game. The Commanders really could have put away the Bears a little bit earlier, but the Bears defense really showed that they're, the heartbeat of that team, kept them in the game. And Caleb Williams and the Bears offense weren't able to capitalize until late. They got momentum with DeAndre Swift, his touchdown down the sidelines, and then it kind of got them going a little bit. They take the lead at the end, and then yeah, just a miraculous play. I mean, yeah, that dude Stevenson or whatever his name is was celebrating mid play and everything like that. But I mean, that was just pretty fortunate for that play to go the way it was, because I mean, he was doing that and then he tipped the ball to the receiver. It's just like just those sequence of events, man. And very fortunate, but it just shows. I mean, I think in general that both of these teams have taken the next step in terms of their development. And it's just really good to see. Yeah, it wasn't like the biggest game in terms of statistically speaking for these two quarterbacks. I think we've seen Jaden Daniels have better games, even though he had over 300 passing yards. But I think overall, it just shows you that like both these teams have taken the next step. Teams that have struggled in recent years, to say the least, to put it together. So I'm liking what I'm seeing from both these teams overall. I think it was a good game to watch, definitely for that you know later game slot. And yeah, leads me to the Vikings game. So yeah, I didn't get to watch this game, obviously. Was working, had to get to that, but watching just the scoreboard and everything, scoreboard watching, I was surprised that like the Vikings struggled the way they did. They had success early, were efficient, scoring, and then it just seems like everything unraveled. I mean, the Darisaw thing just hurts them. I mean, now we obviously traded for a starting caliber tackle in Robinson from Jacksonville, but I think in that game it just showed you like how important Darisaw was to the team, and nobody on the team could replace him, and that's where the pressure just continued to come in, and sacks were stacking up. And it just kind of the last couple of weeks leads me to my biggest takeaway is that the Vikings are not going to be winning this division. I think the winner of this division will have to have some sort of like incredible consistency with how good all these teams are, and I think the only team really capable of doing that is the Lions because they've been through it before and they've shown this season that they can respond to any adversity that they face. They were down 10 to the Vikings. What they lost to Tampa Bay.
The
That didn't
Bucks.
derail their season. Yeah, so it's like they know what they're doing. The Packers won by only 3 points against Jacksonville, which I mean I picked that as my upset pick of the week, the Jaguars upsetting them, which just kind of shows you like, you know, Jordan Love is throwing an interception at least once a game. That's just what he does now. And I think when you look on the other side, I mean, what's the stat like when they were talking about like how many completions in a row Jared Goff was having? Like he does not throw interceptions. Like he just plays within the system, always has
Mhm.
outlets. Like he's not ever hurried or anything at all. So with that game being on Sunday, I think it's going to be the Lions winning it. But I mean, it just shows you how a little bit more ahead they are in terms of current current time. But the Packers, they're obviously another good team. I just feel like the Vikings, they don't stack up in terms of the consistency to put it all together for the entire duration of the season. We've seen their defense also kind of take some steps back a little bit too, specifically with the way that they were able to. I mean, Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are one of the best. This one of the best duos in the league, but they had their way. Not Jared Goff. Matthew Stafford had his way, and that also comes down to the pass rush as well. I feel like the pass rush really helped cover some of the secondary mishaps the Vikings have. So we'll see if they address that at all. I know the offensive line thing was a little bit more pressing with Darius had, but yeah, I think that's a takeaway for me, and also leads me to my other one with the Lions. I think they're the best team in the NFL. Seeing what they did on Sunday to Tennessee, who were actually in that game early, but um, it ends up being, let me just confirm here, because I know it was a little bit of a massacre
40
at
something.
52 to 14.
Yeah.
Um, Jared Goff only 85 yards passing on the day, but Jahmyr Gibbs back-to-back weeks just going crazy. Um, had that rush touchdown, which I mean showed how
Punt return.
Punt return, Khalif Raymond, yeah, they were just how many punt return yards? I don't know, but I know it was almost like NFL record with that. And it just shows you the numerous amount of ways that they can attack you. No receiver got over 100 yards receiving, but they had four receiving touchdowns. Laporta,
Yeah.
Khalif Raymond, Brock Wright, Amon-Ra
Amon
St. Brown. Yeah, it's just they can attack you in so
Ra
many.
had like less than 20 yards. Sorry.
Oh no, two receptions for 7 yards. So
Mm,
and the defense I don't think has really been, maybe as affected as, some might have thought when Aiden Hutchinson went down, which kind of like makes you think like, do they even need to bring in, a pass rusher to, come in and help them out? Maybe they could find one on like, with a late round pick or something like that. But I mean, they've been able to sack the quarterback. They've been able to do their thing. I'm interested to see like what do they do when they go against those tougher teams, because the Vikings have already gone through that gauntlet of those tough games. The opening weeks of the season. 5-2. I mean, you'll take that coming into the season. I mean, I'd take the Vikings being 5-2 at this point. But with the context behind it, obviously it's a little bit more sour losing the past two. But yeah, the other teams in the NFC North are going to have to go through the similar sort of battles, and see if they can, win those games. The Bears already lost to the Texans this year. Um, Green Bay barely beat Houston, and they won by a field goal. So it's just like those teams are going to have to also play the Lions, and we'll see how, everything unfolds. But going into these, before I go into these topics, I mean, a little bit of a surprise one here. Obviously, the NBA season started last week. Any takeaways from the first week so far that we want to go into?
Um, Timberwolves, you know, got some
Timberwolves.
got some growing to do, but
Mm-hmm.
looking all right, showing some glimpses of some life. So it's weird seeing the different stars in their on their different teams, seeing Clay in Dallas, seeing obviously Cat in New York. Like it's been really bizarre, but that's always normal for the first few weeks.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I've been tuning in for the first 3 weeks of that, or the first three games of um for the Lakers, but I've seen, AD's been really showing his true self since I want to say COVID. You know,
Mm.
3 games back to back for 30 points or more. So I feel like JJ brings a new. You can already tell there's a whole new offense going. Spreading the ball around and everyone's making efficient shots.
Yeah, they
That's
definitely look
also
impressive. Go ahead, Tyler.
I was just gonna say that's a great point. That JJ Redick coaching addition has done wonders for the Lakers. They're a completely different team, so
Mm-hmm.
they
Yeah,
got somebody who knows ball now.
they got a little bit of a offensive structure to them. Um, yeah, as far as the Timberwolves, I think Julius Randle has fit in well.
Mm,
The trade and everything happened. First game national TV didn't look the best, but I think he's fit in well. I feel like the defense has taken a step back, which is concerning because that's the identity of the team. So hopefully they can figure that out and get everything sorted with that. Transition points yesterday were crazy. How like the Mavericks were just able to just get full court passes right after the Timberwolves scored and get
yeah,
open layups. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
just you know like youth level sports mistakes right there.
yeah,
And hopefully they can just correct these things. Turnovers also. And then lastly, the Nuggets. I feel like the Nuggets, like they've won their last couple games, but I think their bench is just atrocious. Their depth is atrocious. I feel like they didn't do enough to really um, maximize this whole
Off
Jokic
season.
era. Yeah, Jokic. I mean, his whole that whole team is just so reliant on Jokic and even Murray, that like you just kind of worrying like where else is the output going to come from consistently. It's not coming from the bench. I mean, I think Christian Brown has stepped up this year to start the year, taking over in that
hmm
KCP role. But yeah, I think they need to address that. I feel like it's obvious concern of theirs, if they want to even, make any run this year, because I'm sure that they're trying to, continue to compete for a championship, but that bench is not a championship contender. And then, yeah, overall, just a really good year or a week, I would say. rather of basketball. Cavaliers have looked good. These teams have all looked good. It's just, exciting early on to watch pretty much every team perform. So yeah, we'll cover the NBA a little bit later on in the episodes with the finale podcast for sure. But going back to the NFL with these league topics, we're gonna start off with the Colts benching Anthony Richardson. So, he had the the quote in the post-game press conference after their loss to Houston. He said something along the lines of, I was tired after this play, and just took
A lot
a
of running.
took a little breather, whatever, like that. Um, and that wasn't received well, and maybe contributed to what this decision is to bench him. I know he hasn't played the best overall, but that's kind of like part of the development with Anthony Richardson. He's not really the most polished quarterback, but he has the potential to be one of the best with all his intangibles. But they're already moving on. They're benching him for Joe Flacco, who they believe gives them the best chance to win going forward. So, what do you guys think of the move from the Colts organization to bench Anthony Richardson going forward?
Yeah, I think I wasn't too shocked because AR has been, up and down throughout the season, but also you get that leadership and that veteran, you know, ability with Flacco as well as a safety blanket, what he can do down the field as well, his outlets as well on a shorter field. So just his role being there as a veteran quarterback and knowing the offense and just knowing what to do for his time being in the NFL, it just shows that he can play it safe and as well win games as well. But yeah, just develop AR some more and get him more comfortable in the offense and by playing some more, I guess. Just
Yeah.
not trying to rush him, and have him feel uncomfortable. So
Do you think they should be focusing on like just putting in Flacco and because he gives them the best chance to win, or do you think they should be focusing more on the development and like go through the growing pains with AR as their quarterback?
kind of both, but I see them trying to relieve a lot of stress and a lot of pressure off of AR since he's so young, and having that ability and that focus, just being a quarterback instead of just trying to please everybody. I guess on his play style. So I feel like get him more comfortable with the offense, more comfortable with playing time, and just seeing how what Flacco does and with all his reason progressions. I feel like could really open up to his time in the future, just like how Russell's in right now and Priest Russell, he's doing really well. You know, looks like old Russell from Seattle. So yeah, just develop him just like Justin Fields would.
Yeah, I definitely think it could be one of those situations where good quarterback, wrong situation, unfortunately. Obviously they're going to try to develop him, but it just hasn't seemed to really work so far with what they're with what they're looking like as an offense. Like it just doesn't seem to they need more of a Joe Flacco out there. Um, and that might not be a bad thing for Anthony Richardson either, if obviously he's not their guy moving forward. I don't know what their plan is, obviously. They might just be wanting to develop him for a little bit longer and then just give him the keys again moving forward. But usually a move like this tells me that they're at least open to the idea of pivoting to a different direction. So we've seen it work with quarterbacks, obviously, like Sam Darnold is a good example of that, where, just looked terrible first couple of years, almost out of the league bad. And now he's come into a situation where he looks like a top 10 quarterback in the league. So maybe that's a situation for Anthony Richardson. Maybe it's a situation where he just has to develop for a little bit. Maybe he never fully reaches that and, this is his ceiling. But I think it was at first I reacted in like this is a weird move by the Colts, benching your young young guy who you've really trusted your franchise with, or so it seemed going into this season. Um, but then you look at it from a perspective of they are 4-4. If they are looking to make that playoff push, what gives them that best chance. And Joe Flacco definitely is that guy for them. So I think from a competing now standpoint, this move definitely makes sense. And yeah, hopefully it helps and doesn't hinder the development of Anthony Richardson in the process.
Yeah, I would 100% agree with like, win now, the quarterback you want to go with is Joe Flacco, just because of what he can bring to that offense. And yeah, this is a team that, is probably looking to compete this year. So it does make sense from that point of view. But what do you guys kind of think in general, like a little bit more broader with, I saw this post on Twitter about like this NFL having this quarterback development problem with
Mhm.
all these young quarterbacks, and a lot of teams just not, I mean, obviously putting them out early and then taking them out, shortly after. Zach Wilson comes to mind right away. And you mentioned other guys, Tyler, that were able to find situations that eventually worked out for them, but also a guy like Sam Darnold who, was given the keys earlier on in his career, wasn't able to succeed. I think of a guy like um, Deshaun Kaiser in Cleveland, who, was a, mid-round pick, put in a situation, couldn't succeed. Um, and his career is basically, over in football. I feel like something similar could happen with Spencer Rattler, with him being a later round pick. It's obviously early, but he's already out there and has struggled. Um, I don't think it's good to like put these quarterbacks out there. I think Kevin O'Connell mentioned it when shortly after he released Jaron Hall, like how he didn't want to put him in that situation because he recognizes like it's not the best situation to be put under. But Richardson was this high overall draft pick, and they're focusing on developing him. And yeah, you want to balance the efforts to win now, but while also developing a quarterback. I'm sure if you're a quarterback and you come into the league doing what CJ Stroud was able to do, then you're not going to have any issue with being benched. But not all young quarterbacks are that ready for the NFL, speed and everything that comes with it. So, there's a lot of situations how, these guys are, out of the league a little bit earlier than what you would expect. But what do you guys think about like just the NFL as a whole when it comes to like developing quarterbacks that aren't the most NFL ready coming into the league?
Yeah, that's a tough topic, tough situation on organization as well. But I want to say like it has to do with the system. I feel like for one example I can think of is when the Niners traded like a first or a second round for Jimmy G, and he just
Mhm.
went crazy. He's always been consistent, for his tenure there with the 49ers, making the playoffs almost every year and then, a couple Super Bowls.
Mhm.
But yeah, I feel like it's always the system, and then praise to Geno Smith, his time with the Jets, and then he found his home in Seattle and won an award for that. And then yeah, it's kind of tough, but also like Tua, he did come in a situation like that. He was developed from Fitzpatrick. So I feel like just the right guy, I feel like the right situation can definitely help with younger quarterbacks succeed in the league. So I think that's kind of right time and right place to be, I guess. It's just always,
Mhm.
situational, I guess, and just what organization has, really good intangibles for developing a young quarterback. Those are
Yeah.
just my examples that I can think of.
The tweet says, okay, Anthony Richardson's 22, Bryce Young's
Wow.
23, Trey Lance is 24, Justin Fields is 25, Will Levis is 25, Zach Wilson's 25, Mac Jones is 26, Kenny Pickett's
Mm-hmm.
26. They're all benched. And then you have these starters that are also young, like Tua, Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Jordan Love, Trevor
CJ.
Lawrence, Bo Nix, CJ Stroud, Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams. So it's like, the two ends of the spectrum there with, the young
Mm-hmm.
quarterbacks that are thriving. And, you got these quarterbacks and just like, is Mac Jones going to get another opportunity to start in this league? Is Kenny Pickett going to? Is Zach Wilson going to? Is Justin Fields like um, Trey Lance, just like because I feel like once you're like out of the loop a little bit, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
It's like hard to get back in. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. But what do you think, Tyler?
Yeah, definitely.
I was just gonna say I've seen a lot of examples of like Trey Lance being thrown around, and his situation is so like circumstantial, right? Because I mean, he had his injury, and then you have Brock Purdy, another young quarterback, come in, and he was lights out, and he has been since. So, um, that's one of those where it's well, I guess yeah, that kind of goes into my point of it is definitely situational, like Cittilad was saying. I think the right situation definitely can be beneficial to a young quarterback. Jordan Love's probably the best example of that. Sat a few years behind Rodgers, took over the starting job and was NFL ready, but probably wasn't ready on draft night. So it's one of those situations where that worked out great for him. However, you have teams like the Jets with Zach Wilson, Carolina with not sure what to do with Bryce Young at the moment. Um, and it is those situations are a little bit more strange because it's like you don't really have a backup plan. So it's like, for the 49ers at least, if it didn't work out with Trey Lance, they had other options. I mean, you have Andy Dalton, but like, is he going to be your future quarterback? Probably not. For the Colts with Joe Flacco, like, yeah, it makes sense if you're trying to compete now, but is he going to be your future guy? No. So it's like what you're risking the development of your young player for a possibility to win now. In some situations, it's better, obviously. Like again with Jordan Love, it worked out to have him on the bench for a few years. But I think when you already start those guys and then you bench them, what that can do for their confidence, like you were saying, it's kind of hard to get back into that once you've been out of it. Um, like yeah, if Zach Wilson gets another shot, he looked pretty bad last time he played football, and a lot of that seemed to do with his confidence out there on the field. So it worked for Sam Darnold. He was able to revive his career. Players like Baker Mayfield able to revive it after not looking so great for a few years. But I feel like the more likely scenario in this situation is they don't typically break out of it. So
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wanna touch base on this one quarterback that came in the league right away and had a starting role, and he had a not so good year, but they just kept believing in him. I'm gonna say it's Josh Allen. You know, he
mhm.
threw he threw the most interceptions since Peyton Manning's rookie year. Since he started back in 2018 and just been lights out. You can really what we saw from his first year and then his next year was astronomical, like better than what
Yeah.
he did as a rookie. So it's just that I guess his development was just better than most, I guess. But that's one of my prime examples of a success story for a young quarterback starting on in the league.
And you got to
Yeah.
think part of that success goes with his organization trusting him
Mm-hmm.
fully. They didn't give up. They at no point were they like, yeah, we're gonna probably turn to a different direction. We're gonna have, I don't know, who was their backup at the time, Tyrod Taylor. Like they're gonna like
Mm-hmm.
whoever they're gonna have go like that was never a scenario. So
Peterman.
yeah, like he was always gonna be their guy. So I think that also helps a quarterback's development. You see that with JJ McCarthy's talked a lot about that, how he is the guy going forward, and it feels that way when he's there, and the team acts that way too. So I think when you have the organization that like fully trust you, not just you can't just kind of trust your guy. You have to fully trust them, otherwise they'll never fully reach that potential. So
How long should that patience last? Like, I get it if a quarterback isn't doing that well in his first year and then they break out in their second year, you know what I mean?
not,
But
not as not as long as the Giants have given Daniel Jones.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
so like,
Yeah.
going into so if you're not even, performing and you're not having that second year, not even breakout, but like improvement, like how long should that patience last in your guys' like opinion? Because Josh Allen, obviously, his second year you know, was better. So,
Hmm.
Yeah.
but
I don't
like
know.
Bryce Young, Anthony Richardson, second year. hasn't
Yeah,
been
I
that.
think
Yeah.
I guess
Um,
it depends on, you know, the organization. I mean, they see the behind the scenes stuff too. It's more than just what we as fans see on Sunday. So they see the work put in or the work not put in. So
yeah, for the Jets specifically, they basically see a good quarterback, before they make it in the league, especially in college, and just throw them right in, right in, thinking that they're going to do the same in the league. But, it's really not. They haven't developed anyone, since, Chad Pennington. So,
Vex, Mark
there's a
Sanchez,
name.
maybe.
oh,
But
Mark Sanchez, maybe. But yeah.
um, so last thing, like, I remember when Justin Fields was in Chicago, a lot of people blamed it on the situation and basically said, when he gets out of there, it's going to be entirely different Justin Fields. He's going to show everything that he was showing at Ohio State. But, obviously goes to Pittsburgh. Team success is there. They're, 4-2 when he gets benched, but he gets benched and sort of the
Right.
same sort of things you see out of him. So like how much of it is situation based? How much of it is, based on the player and, who they are? Like, what do you guys think of that?
Yeah, Tomlin saw that Fields was limited to just his running ability. He wanted a more of a passing offense and, a balanced offense. And he saw that in Russell Wilson. So he made that great decision to start Russell. And you can definitely, see it for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah. I was gonna say too, like I think it can be situation based. In the cases of like, obviously we mentioned Sam Darnold where didn't succeed in New York, didn't succeed in Carolina, but in Minnesota, like he can do his thing and he's gonna flourish. I feel like in that case it's situation based. Um, but like he has the talent, and it's just so happens that Minnesota is the type of organization that's able to get it out of him. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
in New York and Carolina, they just don't have the organizational structure that's able to allow him to be his best self. And it's a lot more, on the quarterback to really put your team in a position to win. That's where those organizations struggle to find quarterbacks that haven't, really been um, consistent for them. I mean, if it wasn't for Cam Newton, like who was the last quarterback the Panthers can actually say is like we had a franchise guy, like I can't think of anybody when I was
Jake Delhomme.
younger. Who?
Jake Delhomme.
Yeah, I don't know who that is. I mean, I'm trying to think back in the day when I was playing like Madden 08, like
Oh,
who was their quarterback until Cam Newton came. Like they didn't have a guy. Maybe when they were making those Super Bowl runs, I can't remember who their quarterback was in the early 2000s. But still, it's
yeah,
just
Jake
like,
Delhomme.
okay, that's him.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't
17.
watch that Super Bowl, bro. But um, yeah, it's just like some of it is down to the organization and it's just a consistent pattern. Like the Jets, for example, like, yeah, we mentioned Mark Sanchez, but his development was probably messed up in a way too, because you know, he was not supposed to be like there as short as he was going from, the heights of a AFC championship to, what they are now.
Michael
It's
Vick.
just like, yeah, yeah. So it's just like, a lot of it is dependent on the player and the situation. It's really just like the perfect match because a quarterback can find that perfect match coming into the league, um, like a CJ Stroud, with everything. And then there is the quarterbacks that are successful. They have the talent, they have the intangibles, but then they're not able to be in the right situation to allow them to flourish. And then it takes them a couple of destinations. Then they find the spot that's able to get the best out of them. So I'm curious to see if that's the case for, some of these quarterbacks. Justin Fields has had a couple opportunities. Like, is he just a quarterback that's a rushing quarterback? Is he a quarterback that can get like, his passing game going a little bit? Is it dependent on the situation? I don't know. Zach Wilson, I mean, he's in a couple situations, hasn't worked out. Um, Trey Lance, a couple situations, it's hard to get, starting in Dallas, but I mean, just some of these guys, just like you're curious, is it on the player or is it on the situation? Anyways, good,
Yeah,
good
some
topic.
quarterbacks are made to be a backup quarterback, So
And
I
it's
say
about it's about
again,
accepting your role.
Yeah,
yeah,
Trey Lance just
yeah.
keep running
Darnold
up in
accepted that
unfortunate
last year when he was
situations.
benched for a year, and I feel like Darnold getting benched for a year, made him realize, he had to accept that role and then, support that starting quarterback and really develop, his game on on the field and what he would do situational, like he was saying in recent interviews. Interviews, but yeah, just give him that time off out the field, can really open up, different possibilities for him. So yeah, and then he's really flourishing with all the offensive weapons that we have. KOC, former quarterback, and then Josh McCown, former quarterback, and then just give him that confidence to really succeed.
Yeah, and you don't really hear much about a quarterback that's a little bit older saying, I learned a lot from Brock Purdy. He's older than Brock Purdy, and like he's saying
Mm-hmm.
that I learned a lot from Brock Purdy. Like that just kind of shows you the accountability that he was taking in that moment after, his first couple of stints in his career and being like, okay, I need to go to a winning organization and just be honest with myself and, you know, make the most out of the situation. He was only there for a year, but like that year was probably, he learned as much as he ever did in New York and Carolina. So, yeah, I think it is just about being honest with yourself, accepting that role and, not just getting too stuck in, oh, I'm this high drafted player and I need to be, this guy, because I think that's where, you can get yourself in trouble. You talk about accepting roles that also, goes to like Geno Smith as well. He was backing up the quarterback. I know he wasn't the highest drafted pick, but I mean, he was backing up Russell Wilson, learned a lot from Russell Wilson, comes in and takes over that spot, gets himself, a new contract. Baker Mayfield as well, going into different situations, was barely with the Rams, came over from Cleveland to Carolina. That didn't work out for him. Goes over to Tampa Bay. He's in a quarterback competition with like this young quarterback. I think Kyle Trask doesn't, he wins the quarterback competition and then he holds on to it, gets paid. And it's just, I think it just, some guys it just works out later than others, but also I think requires that right mindset to eventually lead
Mhm.
you to, that point where you can, make the most out of a situation. But uh, next topic, Diontae Johnson traded to the Ravens from the Carolina Panthers. Of course, Carolina having another um, bad year for their team. And, they brought him in the offseason thinking that he's really going to be another weapon for Bryce Young. And Bryce Young's going to take this second year leap and they're going to be a much better unit. But it hasn't worked out that way. And now he goes over to a competitive team in Baltimore, who, have had receiver issues, which was, exemplified with Rashad Bateman's drop against the Browns. So he's the guy that can really come into that room and, be atop that wide receiver list. But like, what do you guys think that he's going to be able to bring to that offense?
Yeah, I think it's going to bring a veteran as well. A veteran in that locker room, wide receiver room, and I want to say again a security blanket for Lamar that that the guy can run routes and definitely catch the ball. Zay Flowers is good for those 30 to 60 yards, and then Aguilar, he can't run a route, and then Bateman can't catch. So there's something that can open up in the field and somewhere deep. So there's something for Lamar to rely on and not get blamed on, I guess. But yeah, it'll help Lamar, spread the ball out more evenly between the Justice Hill, Likely, Andrews, and Zay, and then Johnson.
Yeah, Deontay Johnson's one of those guys where kind of like we were just talking about, great player, just wrong situation. Um, Hopefully this is finally a team where he can become that true wide receiver one and really shine because he is a great talent. Um, it is strange. I feel like the Panthers could have got more for him, but when you look at this on paper, Deontay Johnson is sixth rounder to the Ravens for a fifth rounder. That Ravens pick's going to be probably 20 spots, 10 spots, like higher than that Carolina sixth rounder. So I feel like they could have got a bit more draft compensation, but at the same time, the objective was to deal him somewhere. So I guess they accomplished that. So I don't know. Panthers will never be good. They're just there. I'm just trying to figure out what they got going on, but I do like this a lot for the Ravens. Yeah, obviously they need a true pass catcher. they have some playmaking guys, but nobody who's really consistent at the moment. So that would take a lot of pressure off of the run game and should really open up a lot of things for them if they can get him going.
Yeah, trade deadline ends Tuesday, less than a week.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great move. Statistically, not been great for him to start the season. Maybe that contributes to
Hmm.
his price. Maybe it's also like, I'm seeing that he's, on an expiring contract as well that could contribute to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, very talented player. We saw that in Pittsburgh, what he can do when, he is that focal point of offense. But I think just in general, like he's just going to give you another outlet. Because I mean, he's not the focal point of this offense. It's Lamar and Derrick Henry, but he's just that guy
Hmm.
that can just give you reliability in terms of a pass catcher and experience, as Sid mentioned. So overall, I think it's a good move when you're able to find receivers like this with late round picks. You know, it's really good value, and it's just going to bolster a team that's already competing for the AFC championship. And, yeah. And as for the Carolina Panthers, I mean, it's just offloading players as they have been doing lately that just haven't worked out. Hopefully, they can do the same with other guys. I mean, because you want to see those other guys get into better situations, like Adam Thielen, for example. Like, I want to see him in a
Hmm.
different
Miles
situation.
Sanders.
Miles Sanders, like just guys that just aren't meeting their heights. It's
Every
disappointing
good player on the
overall.
team.
It's just disappointing, man. Like I do feel for those fans. I mean, because I mean, when they used to be good, like they had a loyal fan base and everything like that. So I'm
Yep.
sure that their fans are still loyal and everything down there. Like some of those guys, unfortunately, just they have to stay. Just gotta go through it because they are focal, points of the organization. Like a Bryce Young, for example, even though
Hmm.
he's been benched, he is a guy that they've invested a lot into. So, but there are the other guys that I mean they have signed in recent years that just haven't worked out. So we'll see what they do moving forward. It's a lot of things that they have to do, a lot of big things that they have to do, and it's unfortunate. First year for Dave Canales, head coach, not the situation you want to be in. Hopefully that doesn't affect him because I still feel like he can do something. Because I think he did wonders last year with Baker Mayfield and that offense. Just about putting it together. We've already seen them have like one or two really good performances offensively this year with Andy Dalton. So. I think just putting it all together really is what this organization needs. So they're not really at the right point where they need to target a guy like Diontae Johnson in the offseason if their whole structure of the team is not there yet. So I think yeah, just continuing to bring out young talent, developing guys like Liget, if I'm saying his name right, Xavier Liget. I mean, just guys like
Leggett.
that,
Yeah.
Liget, yeah, just guys like that, like just continuing to develop your draft picks, put them in situations to succeed. I think that's
That's
what
funny.
is best moving
Who's their
forward.
tight end?
Their tight end, I want to say, is Ian something. Let me just confirm
Mm, mm,
because I know him from fantasy, but let me think. Ian, Carolina Panthers depth chart. So their tight end is Tommy Tremble. My bad, I knew that. Yeah,
yeah, Tommy.
Tommy Tremble.
Yes, I thought it
So
was still Trimble.
yeah, Tommy
We have
Tremble.
the Giants.
What?
Is he on the Giants?
Oh, he might have used to be. No, he was never on the Giants.
Oh,
I lied. That's probably somebody else you're thinking
anyway,
of. Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
Chuba Hubbard. Chuba Hubbard's had a good year too. Just guys like that that they have to
yeah.
continue to develop. And I think they'll be eventually able to figure it out. Just, get some number one overall draft picks and actually hold on to them and then pick them and continuing to, work out everything else. And then at that time you can actually make moves because you'll have the money. And I think from there, then we'll see their team be a little bit more successful. But yeah. Next topic. Stefon Diggs tore his ACL, unfortunately, in their last game. So the question that leads us to is how does that impact the Houston Texans, a team that's already dealing with some injuries?
Yeah, it's going to be tough in the wide receiver position for reliability on CJ Stroud getting the ball downfield. Tank's going to be their number one until Nico comes back. But I want to be surprised if they try to trade for another reliable veteran wide receiver before Tuesday. But yeah, I feel like Dalton Schultz won't be enough for him, and then Tank is going to get doubled, and then who's your second and third? Can tell you. So it's just going to be tough until Nico gets back,
Mhm.
yeah, in the meantime before he even gets healthy,
Hutchinson.
and yeah, it's just
Yeah.
got to rely on Tank to be number one for now, and then Nico coming back, and then yeah, I'd see him signing a veteran wide receiver. So and then I won't be shocked if we do.
Yeah. Tank Dell, Xavier Hutchinson, Robert Woods.
Ooh, Woods
Not not the scariest wide receiver room at the moment, but
still got it.
on the bright side though, I didn't realize that Nico was expected to come back this soon. He's anticipated to be back week 10, so he'll at least hopefully not suffer too long with his absence. But yeah, definitely having your top two pass catching players out for a significant amount of time is going to be hard to win games. Obviously, their record is great at this point. Um, and yeah, this will just be the ultimate test for Stroud, I guess, to prove that he can really lead a team regardless of who's out there. So I wouldn't be surprised though, like you were saying, Cittilad, if they made a move to, bring in some some wide receiver. I don't really know who's on the block at the moment now with
Right.
all these moves, but it probably wouldn't be anything too huge, but he definitely could make a move for a veteran receiver on a bad team. Keep an
Yeah,
eye on Thielen.
Patriots. They can look for Tyquan Thornton. He's tall,
Mhm.
someone like
What?
him.
No, I'm playing.
Tank Dell doesn't play on the outside. He's 5'7". He plays slot.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna ask though, like, you know, Tank Dell, right? What do you think, like, let's say they don't add a receiver. What do you think this can do for his um season? Hasn't had the best season so far, hasn't really been able to coexist with that wide receiver trio now, just going back to the role he had last year as a wide receiver too. I mean, I think they had this trio last year of Robert Woods, Tank Dell, and
Mhm.
Nico Collins, right? So what do you guys think that can do for him and kind of get his season going a little bit if they don't make a move to strengthen the receiver room?
it'll probably boost his confidence as being number two once Nico comes back. But it's
Mhm.
definitely gonna open up his ability to play on the outside, motion out a lot. In a bunch formation, sweeps. Yeah, just running basically the same offense what Baltimore's running with Zay. That speed receiver to move around the field and just get open, basically.
Yeah, I definitely think the lack of production thus far has just been lack of opportunity just with playing behind Nico and with Stefon Diggs. Last year, like I said, I mentioned, we saw a lot of success just because, you have Nico as your true outside wide receiver one, and then you have Tank Dell as your slot guy. Um, and then you bring in Stefon Diggs, who likes to line up outside and inside, so it really kind of takes away some of those opportunities for Tank Dell. But yeah, I think we'll see. I don't know what we'll see with him as wide receiver one, but I think we'll see a lot more success now once Nico Collins comes back, and we can kind of see him in his true role of being that number one slot guy.
Okay, so I'm just gonna throw some names out there. If they were to trade for anybody, let me know what you guys think of these names, okay? All right. Starting off, Mike Williams from the Jets.
Mm.
Hmm.
Good. Outside guy.
Yeah, yeah, that'd be a good fit, and
That'd
yeah,
be a good
definitely
pick.
a guy that I'd say is more than available given his current situation.
Okay. How about a guy that's been mentioned, Darius Slayton for the Giants?
He's there as a number two, just just in case Neighbors gets hurt again.
Well, they could trade him though. Do you think he could work in
I
a
wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it.
yeah. I
I
feel like
don't
he's good.
I don't like the fit long
Okay.
term, I guess.
No.
Yeah, yeah. I see what you guys mean. Um,
Like that'd be the solution for like this year, sure. But yeah,
yeah,
Hmm.
once Diggs comes back, now you have Slayton, you
Yep.
have Diggs, you have Collins, you have Tank Dell, you have all these contracts, everyone's mad.
true. I mean,
Diggs is gonna want out, something.
I think these guys are not really like guys
I
want
mean,
to build your
the
receiver
Patriots
room
just
around.
Patriots just traded Josh Uche to the Chiefs, so I don't I won't be shocked if they traded, like I said, Tyquan Thornton, Demario Douglas to a different team.
I will
Because
say, I mean, if the asking price is basically nothing, like we saw with that
Patriots
Diontae
will just
Johnson trade,
yeah,
like
yeah.
yeah, if Houston could give up just a 6th round pick, then yeah, they can have their pick of anybody if that's the asking price right now. So
Yeah,
I just mentioned Tyquan Thornton because he's a deep field threat, so
yeah,
and he's 6'1", so he's pretty fast. I would definitely cover the field top wise, and then Tank would just cover the middle of the field.
yeah. I think if they really looked, they could find somebody. There's plenty of receivers out there, and especially with like the late round pick that you can just trade and get like a really talented receiver. I think
Yeah.
they should be looking for somebody that's a little bit more of a 1 year rental though, because they already have a receiving core.
mhm.
Um, so
Who's that guy on the Niners? He's like
Debo.
a third. No, he's like a third or fourth.
oh, Juwan
Who
Who
didn't
are
Jennings.
you
catch?
talking? Yeah, Jennings.
No, before after him. Who didn't make that catch against the Rams? You know what I'm talking about? That guy.
We need Tyler, Google that.
Yeah, I know. I'm going through the receivers. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got Jennings, you
The
have
AI going.
Pearsall's in there now.
Pearsall's a rookie, so it's not
No,
happening.
not him.
But anyways, yeah,
You're talking about Brandon Ayuk?
no,
No,
I
it's
was like, wait, did you
no way.
forget Ayuk's? Yeah,
Uh,
who?
oh, Ronnie Bell.
oh,
Yeah, I was not gonna say Ronnie
I was
Bill.
not getting that, but yeah,
Ronnie Bell.
I could have had 100 guesses.
I mean, most likely they'll get somebody that's not gonna take the spot of their top three receiving core anyway. So I think really just depends what their kind of plan of action is with any of these guys. But there are some capable guys out there that could definitely help you this season for sure. But
Mhm.
yeah, guys, let's get into the upset pick of the week. I'll let you guys go first.
My upset pick, and I was kind of surprised that they were underdogs, the Patriots over the Titans. Um, Obviously Drake May still in concussion protocol, but Patriots coming off of a win last week and Titans coming off of a brutal loss. So I really just think this game's about momentum, and I think Patriots take this one.
Yeah, going off that lead. My upset pick is going to be the Panthers versus Saints. Panthers are at home.
Hmm.
Rather didn't look too good past 2 weeks, and I feel like if the Panthers can get this win with Bryce Young, I feel like he'll probably stay in for the rest of the year and just develop him some more. So just
Yeah.
boost the confidence, boost the team morale overall. And yeah, it's just gonna be mid versus mid, I guess.
Okay. I got I got two, but one I'm probably a little bit more confident in. The one I'm confident in is I got the Cowboys beating or upsetting the Falcons
Mm.
on the road. I mean, they're 2.5 point underdogs right now. I think they'll be able to cover that. The Falcons are definitely a good team, an improved team, but I think the Cowboys' experience will be able to get them over the line in that game where, I mean, they're a little bit more desperate now with their record and, need to get some wins
Hmm.
put together. Whereas
Rival.
The Falcons are
Oh,
really in control of that division. So I think the Cowboys will be able to, you know, um, be in that game. It's really just a matter of like the Cowboys defense just figuring it out because that defense has just been opening, everything to everyone. And with the way Kirk Cousins has been able to pick apart defenses this year, he can continue to do that against Mike Zimmer's defense, like deja vu or whatever the word I'm looking for. Like,
Mhm.
he definitely is looking forward to that
Just
matchup,
like
but
practice.
yeah, I need to I need to see that matchup for sure. But I think the Cowboys are able to score with them as good as the Atlanta Falcons defense is. I think sometimes they might have their games where they're just not there. Um, like a game that they had recently. I think we were mentioning it with the Seahawks game, I think, where they lost 34-14. So, they've won the division games. They're what, 3-0 in the division, I want to say. Um, but yeah, 3-0 in the division, and that's an easy division. So they're 5-3 on the season. So three of their losses are outside of the division. I think this could be one of them. And then another one that like low key, I could see happening is the Colts upsetting the Vikings on Sunday Night Football. It is. I just feel like the Colts, we saw a couple years ago, almost like we're killing the Vikings at first. It was like 30 something to, 7, able to figure it out
33-0.
eventually in that game. Yeah, so I think just in general, like Flacco, it's a hit or miss sort of player, and I think he's the type of player that can get in a rhythm, and with this Vikings offense, if they're not able to get to a guy like Joe Flacco, he could have a day, and that's where I could potentially see him, having this offensive explosion. If he's able to get enough time in the pocket, he can definitely find his receivers. So I could see that happening. 5.5 point underdogs, the Colts are. So, but I'm going to go with the Cowboys upsetting Falcons 2.5 point underdogs there. So, anything else we want to touch on before we finish up this episode?
Tomorrow's game,
Uh, Tomorrow's game,
Sure, sure.
Texans are
Jets.
So
underdogs.
tomorrow's
Yeah,
game
Jets are three
is
point favorites.
the
Yeah,
Chargers at
that's
the Browns. Who do you
crazy.
guys having winning that game?
Browns,
What?
No, I'm just playing.
That's Sunday.
No, I'm just
I was
joking
like,
with you.
what?
Browns.
Just joking
Give me the
with you, Mike.
Browns.
I was like, they flexed the game. That's the worst game to flex.
I
Uh,
know
t- all right, yeah. What do you guys want to talk about with that? Texans Jets.
Yeah, I was
that.
just gonna say I think the Texans are gonna win that game. I don't know why
Yeah,
the Jets are
that
3 point
spread and that
underdog,
money
or two
line
point
was
favorites.
made before Diggs's ACL announcement was made. So I don't understand. Jets has been favored at least three in the last primetime games, and there's been at least
Who did who did they just lose
they were
to?
Steelers Monday
The
night.
Patriots. Oh,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Jets.
Yeah, last Monday night.
They lost to the Patriots on Sunday, no?
yeah. They lost the Patriots and then they
Yeah, they
lost to the
lost to that too,
Steelers
and then
the week
yeah,
before.
Steelers.
Oh, okay,
The
okay, okay.
Steelers was the ugly game, the 37-15.
Yeah,
Like no disrespect to the Patriots, but they're losing to not good teams, and you know I don't yeah, I guess I just don't get it. Aaron Rodgers effect,
Hmm.
but yeah, put all of your money on Texans winning that game.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, Devonta Adams. We'll see if this is his breakout game. Could
How we're gonna feel about you think the Bucks and the Chiefs gonna be a high scoring game Monday night?
I want to talk about that one too. I think the Bucks
Yeah,
could pull off an upset in that one. I like that matchup.
yeah. Baker's not afraid to sling that rock. So,
I think it'll be tough, you know, on the road. But if they were at home, I would have picked that as an upset probably. But yeah, the Chiefs are undefeated for a reason. I think they'll be able to handle that game. But
Yeah,
I
they're
mean,
undefeated for whatever reason.
yeah,
whatever reason. No, I mean they just they
We'll
just know how
never
to
know.
win. They they,
stripes.
they know how to win. Bucks, have they addressed anything with the wide receiver position? I'm not sure. Um, so
Mm.
I just don't see it happening. But yeah, they're definitely a good team this year. I just feel like this is definitely a loss. It's the Chiefs. You know,
At home.
at home, it is tough. But like on the road, I would be like, okay, I can see it because Tampa Bay is actually able to beat good teams at home. On the
Mhm.
road, I wouldn't bet on it. Um, but yeah, they haven't addressed anything with the receiver position. But their backfield is nice. Credit to them. That dude,
Yeah, it all falls on Baker as well. As we
yeah.
saw
I'm just just
on that Ravens game.
it just seems like one of those games. I feel like we have a few every year where, some team just catches fire and comes out hot, and this just seems like the game for that. So,
hmm I thought that was going to be the game for them against Baltimore on prime time
mhm.
Yeah,
a couple weeks ago, but that wasn't meant to be. But they still put up 31. So,
Yep.
um, yeah,
garbage points.
another impressive win. They beat the Commanders 37-20, the first game of the season. So they are definitely capable of offensive explosion. We'll see if they can do that now without their star receivers.
Mike,
Yeah,
Chris.
it was Kate
Mhm.
Otten leading them in receiving, 9 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Falcons on Sunday. So yeah, just need a complimentary effort there.
Yeah.
And
Need
like I
need
mean,
defense to make some turnovers.
yeah, because I mean, it's not like you're playing a high-powered offense. Like on paper, it might be, but like yeah, they're not really at their peak efficiency levels right now. So you
No.
could potentially find a win here. That would be a big win for sure. But yeah, guys, let's wrap it up. So that was episode 100. Looking forward to the next
Sir,
100 with you guys. Appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll see everyone next time. Peace.
Peace.
peace.